My friends, picture for a moment a small store on an ordinary street. The lights flicker faintly, the shelves are lined with goods that most people pass by without even thinking. But in that store, on that day, a story unfolded that speaks louder than any book, louder than any speech, louder than the noise of the world itself. A mother stood there with her little daughter, no more than 8 years old, her eyes full of innocence, curiosity, and longing. They had walked into the store not out of luxury, but out of necessity, because hunger does not wait, because a child's needs cannot be postponed. And yet when the little girl reached for something simple, something so small compared to the riches of the world, the mother lowered her head and whispered words that shattered hearts more than the sharpest blade, "We have no money." These words, so quiet and fragile, were not just a confession of poverty. They were an admission of the world's harshness, a window into a life where choices are not between what to buy but whether to buy at all, not between which meal but whether there will be a meal. The little girl froze, her hand hanging midair, her eyes wide. She did not argue, she did not protest, because children understand more than we give them credit for. She simply withdrew her hand and nodded, as though trying to protect her mother from shame. But even the silence of a child can echo louder than thunder. In that moment, standing a few steps away, a CEO watched. Not just a businessman, not just a leader of industries, but a human being first. He had entered the store with no intention of witnessing this scene. He came for something routine, something he could have sent an assistant to collect. Yet fate placed him there at that precise instant. He heard the words, he saw the slump of the mother's shoulders, the silent acceptance in the daughter's eyes, and something within him stirred. The world often thinks CEOs, leaders, and people of wealth are distant, untouchable, existing in a realm apart from ordinary lives. Yet at the end of the day, what makes us human is not the size of our bank account but the size of our hearts. And so this man, without hesitation, reached into his briefcase, pulled out a stack of money, $10,000 in cash, and laid it on the counter in front of the stunned cashier. He did not make a speech. He did not announce his title or status. He did not do it for cameras or recognition. He simply placed the money there, like a quiet declaration of war against despair, against hunger, against the cruelty of circumstances. $10,000. To some, a fortune. To others, a drop in an endless sea. But in that moment, it was more than currency. It was hope incarnate, the embodiment of compassion, the proof that kindness can break through walls of suffering like sunlight piercing through clouds. The cashier froze, the mother gasped, and the child looked at the man with eyes so wide they seemed to contain galaxies. For the first time that day, the child's lips curved into a smile, tentative yet radiant, as though the universe had whispered back to her that all was not lost. My friends, let us not underestimate what such an act means. We live in a world where people scroll past tragedies on their screens, where the cries of the suffering are drowned out by the noise of entertainment and distraction. Yet here, in one store, in one ordinary town, a man chose to see, to act, to step into another family's pain rather than turn away. And by doing so, he lit a fire that will not be easily extinguished. The mother tried to refuse, stammering words of disbelief, her pride wrestling with her need, her dignity battling with her desperation. But the CEO, with a calm smile, told her the money was not charity, it was a reminder that she and her daughter were not invisible, that their struggle was seen, that their lives mattered as much as any boardroom deal or stock market share. He told her to take what she needed, not just for that day, but for the days ahead, to buy food, to pay bills, to breathe a little easier when the weight of survival pressed on her chest. Now think about the daughter, standing there, watching this exchange. In her young heart, seeds were planted that day, seeds of hope, of belief in goodness, of trust that the world still has people who care. That moment may shape her forever. Instead of carrying only the memory of her mother's whispered pain, she will also carry the memory of a stranger's kindness, a living example of what it means to give without expectation, to serve without demand. How many children grow up never seeing such light? How many carry only the scars of poverty, the bitterness of neglect, the wounds of being unseen? And how many of us have opportunities, great or small, to change that for even one soul, yet let them slip away? The lesson here is not about $10,000. The lesson is about the courage to care, the audacity to step in, the willingness to bear someone else's burden even for a moment. The CEO did not solve poverty that day. He did not erase the inequalities of the world. But for one family, he shifted the balance. For one mother and one child, he lifted the crushing weight, if only for a season. And that matters, because the ripple effect of kindness cannot be measured by accountants. That $10,000 will be spent, yes, but the memory, the inspiration, the hope it ignited will outlast any bill, any coin, any receipt. It will echo into the daughter's future, into the mother's strength, into the stories they tell, into the lives of those they in turn choose to help one day. And so, my friends, ask yourselves, how many times have you heard the unspoken cry of, "We have no money," in the lives around you? Perhaps not in words, but in weary eyes, in empty lunchboxes, in children who pretend they are not hungry, in neighbors who smile to hide their pain. Every day we are surrounded by silent pleas, and every day we are given chances to respond. Some will say, but I am not a CEO. I do not have $10,000 to lay on a counter. That may be true, but kindness is not measured in dollars. A loaf of bread given with love, a word of encouragement spoken at the right time, an opportunity shared, a door opened, these are currencies more valuable than gold. For the CEO, the money was a tool, a bridge to deliver his compassion. For you, it may be your time, your attention, your voice, your willingness to stand up for someone else. We cannot all change the entire world, but we can all change someone's world. That is the power entrusted to us, the sacred duty of being human. Imagine if more leaders thought this way. Imagine if boardrooms, governments, and corporations carried in their hearts not just profit margins but also the image of that mother and child at the store. Imagine if policy and business decisions were guided by the simple truth that no child should ever have to hear their parent whisper, "We have no money," when reaching for food. The world would be transformed. Not by grand speeches, not by empty promises, but by acts of genuine care repeated across millions of lives. The story of that day is not about wealth but about choice. The CEO could have walked past, unnoticed, untouched. He could have dismissed the scene as, "Not my problem." Yet he chose differently. He chose to become part of the solution, even if only for one family, even if only for one moment. That choice is what separates bystanders from changemakers, what separates those who watch history from those who shape it. And let me tell you, history remembers. Not the numbers in a bank account, not the size of houses or the brands of cars, but the moments when human beings look beyond themselves. History remembers the kindness that ripples forward, the courage that interrupts despair, the love that refuses to be silent. This story is proof that every one of us can become part of that history, not by wealth alone, but by willingness. So let this story challenge you. Let it disturb your comfort, ignite your compassion, awaken your responsibility. Somewhere near you, there is a child hearing the same words, "We have no money." Somewhere, a mother is hiding her tears. Somewhere, a father is breaking inside. And somewhere, you may be the only one who can place hope on the counter, in whatever form you can. Do not underestimate the power of that moment, because to the one who receives it, it may mean everything. And perhaps the most powerful part of this story is not that the mother received money or that the child received a gift, but that the world received a reminder. A reminder that compassion is not extinct, that goodness is not dead, that even in times when people speak more loudly about division, hatred, and selfishness, there are still those who choose to write a different narrative. That CEO, in that ordinary store, did not simply pay a bill. He declared with his actions that love is not theoretical. It is not a poem on a card or a quote on a wall. It is movement, it is intervention, it is sacrifice. It is stepping into someone else's hardship when you have every excuse not to. And who knows, maybe that CEO was once a child like that little girl. Maybe he too once heard his mother whisper, "We have no money." Maybe he remembered the sting of being told no, not because you were undeserving, but because survival itself was a luxury. Maybe that is why he acted. Because people who have suffered and escaped often carry within them a fire that refuses to let others burn. But let us not wait until we are wealthy, powerful, or established before we take action. Let us not tell ourselves the lie that only large gestures matter. Because there are countless heroes whose names the world may never know, who never touched $10,000 in their lives, yet changed the world in ways no currency could measure. The grandmother who feeds hungry children on her street with what little she has. The teacher who buys supplies for students so they don't feel ashamed. The neighbor who quietly pays someone's electricity bill without saying a word. These are the acts that stitch humanity together. And let us speak about pride, for pride is both armor and prison. That mother at the store, she did not want pity. She did not want handouts. She wanted dignity. She wanted to provide for her child with her own hands, her own strength. And that is why true kindness must be delivered not with superiority but with respect. The CEO did not speak in a tone of charity. He spoke in a tone of honor. He did not position himself above her. He placed himself beside her. That is the difference between help that heals and help that humiliates. So many people are willing to help, but only in ways that spotlight themselves. They want applause, recognition, validation. But real kindness is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not post itself online with hashtags for likes. It is content being unseen. It is enough to know that a life was touched. That kind of kindness builds worlds. Now picture what happened after that store encounter. The mother, trembling, takes the money. The child clings to her hand, still unsure whether to smile or cry. They buy groceries, perhaps more than they've bought in months. Fresh fruit, bread still warm from the oven, milk that will last more than a day. Maybe even a small treat, something forbidden by poverty but invited by generosity, cookies, chocolate, something sweet enough to make childhood feel like childhood again. As they leave the store, the cashier wipes tears. Maybe she had seen this mother before. Maybe she too had watched her struggle in silence. And now she had witnessed a miracle. The CEO, he doesn't linger for thanks. He doesn't wait for praise. He nods, smiles softly, and walks away. Because his purpose was not to be celebrated, it was to act. And that, my friends, is leadership. Leadership is not commanding attention. It is commanding change. But this story is not just about one mother, one child, one CEO. It is about all of us. It is a mirror. When you hear it, what do you feel? Pity, sympathy, inspiration, or responsibility? Because stories like this are not meant to make us feel good, they are meant to make us better. How many times have we walked past someone in need because it was inconvenient? How many times have we justified inaction with excuses like, someone else will help, or, I don't want to interfere, or, what difference will it make? But what if that CEO had thought the same? What if he had looked away? What if he had remained silent? That child would have walked out with empty hands and a heavier heart. That mother would have carried not only hunger but humiliation. That moment of transformation would have dissolved into just another tragedy. We must stop waiting for perfect timing before we do good. We must stop calculating kindness. If you are in a position to help, whether with money, time, words, or simply presence, do it. Not later, not when convenient, now, because the need is now. Pain is now, loneliness is now, and healing must also be now. Some will hear this story and criticize. They will say, what if the mother misuses the money? Or, what if she becomes dependent? But those objections are shields for cold hearts. The CEO did not give to control her. He gave to free her. And here is the truth. When help is given with respect, most people rise higher, not lower. Gratitude births responsibility. Hope awakens effort. People do not flourish in shame, they flourish in support. And if someone does misuse kindness, then you still did the right thing. Because your duty is to give. What they do with it is their journey, not yours. If we allow fear of being taken advantage of to stop us from helping anyone, then we doom countless innocent souls to remain unaided. I would rather be fooled 10 times than ignore one true cry for help. Imagine if the tables were reversed. If you were the one whispering to your child that you had no money. If your cupboards were empty. If your lights were at risk of going out. Would you not pray, even silently, for someone to see you? Would you not hope that just one person, one stranger, would choose to care? And if that is what we would desire for ourselves, how can we deny it to others? The world often teaches us to chase success, to accumulate, to ascend, to compete. But what is success if it is achieved alone? What glory is there in reaching the top while ignoring those at the bottom? True success is not measured by how high you rise, but by how many you lift with you. Maybe you cannot place $10,000 on a counter today, but perhaps you can place your hand gently on someone's shoulder and say, you are not alone. Perhaps you can sit with someone who is grieving. Perhaps you can mentor a child who has no guidance. Perhaps you can pay for a stranger's coffee or cover someone's bus fare. These things may seem small, but to someone in need, they may be everything. Do not underestimate the power of a single moment. A person's entire life can change in a moment. A heart can heal in a moment. A destiny can be rewritten in a moment. That CEO rewrote a future that day. The child who once heard, we have no money, now knows that she lives in a world where kindness is possible. And one day, when she is grown, she may find herself in a position to help someone else. And she will remember. She will remember how it felt to be seen. And she will pass it on. And that, my friends, is how revolutions begin, not always in parliaments or protests, but in grocery stores, in classrooms, in alleyways, in living rooms. In the quiet exchange between two souls when one says, I see you, and the other replies through tears, thank you. Let us become those people, the ones who interrupt despair. The ones who refuse to let anyone believe they are forgotten. The ones who understand that the world does not change by accident. It changes when ordinary people make extraordinary decisions. So the next time you see someone struggling, do not turn away. Do not assume they will be fine. Do not expect someone else to step in. Be that someone. Be the one who places hope on the counter, whatever form that hope may take. Because one day, when your own life is remembered, when people speak of you after you are gone, they will not recount how much you earned or how much you owned. They will recount how much you gave. They will not speak of your possessions. They will speak of your compassion. And if you live like that CEO, if you dare to act boldly, love deeply, and give freely, then your legacy will not be written in ink or carved in stone. It will be inscribed in hearts. And that is the only place where it truly matters. And perhaps one day, long after the memory of that store fades from the minds of those who witnessed it, the impact will still be alive, living through choices, living through attitudes, living through the very way that child grows to view the world. Because the greatest gift that CEO gave was not money, it was perspective. It was the proof that kindness exists. It was the permission to believe in goodness even when circumstances whisper otherwise. Children do not learn generosity through lectures, they learn it through witnessing it. They mirror what they see. And if more young hearts saw compassion in action instead of the next generation would not just hope for a better world, they would build it. But let us not wait for the world to change. Let the change begin with us. Ask yourself, who around you is carrying invisible burdens? Whose smile hides exhaustion? Whose silence is actually a scream for help? We have trained ourselves to see struggle as statistics rather than stories. We see poverty in numbers, not in names. But every number has a face. Every face has a history. Every history matters. Perhaps you are not wealthy. Perhaps you are struggling yourself. But even then, you are not empty. You have something to give. Your encouragement may be someone's strength. Your listening ear may be someone's relief. Your belief in someone may be the catalyst that awakens their own belief in themselves. And more often than not, people do not need saving, they simply need support. It is easy to be kind when life is comfortable. True character is revealed when kindness costs you something. Time, effort, ego, even discomfort. Because let us be honest, helping others is not always convenient. It interrupts schedules. It pushes us outside our plans. But what if the greatest blessings are hidden inside those interruptions? What if divine opportunities are disguised as inconveniences? Consider this. The CEO likely had somewhere to be that day. A meeting, a task, a deadline, but he allowed compassion to override agenda. He let love dictate his pace. And that decision, to pause, to engage, to care, became a story told across countless mouths. Not because it was loud, but because it was real. Now imagine our communities if thousands of such moments sparked every day. Imagine cities where no child feels invisible. Where no mother bears the burden of shame alone. Where no stranger feels like a stranger. That world is not beyond reach. It does not require miracles. It requires choices. Some will say, but what difference can one small act make in such a vast world of suffering? To that I say, ask the mother in that store. Ask the child who walked out that day with more than groceries, she walked out with dignity restored. To them, it was not a small act. It was everything. To the world, you may be one person. But to one person, you may be the world. And if you have ever been saved, by a kind word, by unexpected help, by someone who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself, you know what it means to be lifted. And if you have received such a gift, it is not meant to stop with you. Blessings are meant to flow, not stagnate. What comes to you is meant to move through you. So let this story not just inspire you, let it activate you. Let it become a standard by which you measure your days. Did I leave someone better than I found them? Did I use my resources, whatever they may be, for more than just myself? Did I walk past pain or did I pause to heal it? $1,000 may feed a family. One smile may save a life. One hug may stop someone from giving up. One moment of presence may prevent a lifetime of regret. Never underestimate the weight of your influence. And if you are someone who is struggling, someone who has whispered those same painful words, "I have no money," let this story remind you that your current circumstances do not define your future. There are people you haven't met yet who will bless you in ways you cannot imagine. There are doors you haven't seen yet that will open when the time is right. There are chapters unwritten. Your story is not over. Hold on, stay hopeful, because just as the CEO walked into that store unexpectedly, someone may walk into your life and change everything. But when that day comes, receive help not with shame but with gratitude. Because accepting kindness with humility is as beautiful as giving it. Pride may keep you hungry, but humility will let you grow. And one day, when you rise, and you will be the one placing your own gift on someone else's counter. So may we live like rivers, not reservoirs. May we carry blessings forward, not hoard them. May we be known not for our status but for our sacrifice, not for our success but for our service. For at the end of it all, long after buildings crumble and fortunes fade, long after names are forgotten and titles lose relevance, one thing will remain, the impact of our love. And perhaps one day, years from now, another story will be told. A story where someone whispers, "We have no money," and someone else steps forward. And maybe, just maybe, that someone will be you. And in that moment, everything you ever did, every struggle you ever endured, every lesson you ever learned, it will all make sense. Because then, you will know what true greatness feels like. Not in taking, but in giving. Not in having, but in helping. Not in being seen, but in seeing others. And that, my friends, is how humanity is preserved. Not by power, but by compassion. Not by policies, but by people. Not by speeches, but by actions. So let us act.